Oh, do you ever feel like you're stuck in a rut? That no matter what you do, you can't seem to shake off that negative attitude? If so, you're not alone. A negative attitude can be very draining, and it often prevents us from achieving our goals. In this episode, I'm going to talk about the role of attitude and discuss strategies for developing a more positive attitude. Stick around, and in the end, I'll provide some useful tips on how you can apply these strategies to your own life. If you're new to me, I'm Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your life, your health, avoid complications, go to the next level, and create the life you have always wanted. If you're new, go ahead and put a new in the comments so we can give you a hand clap and some music to say hello. Because we love when people show up in our channel. We love when people show up in our community. And so we just want to welcome you. If you have questions, go ahead and put those in the comments as well, in the chat, and you want to put a Q and a colon in front of that so that we know that that's a question that we need to grab onto. You are joining us, if this is your first time with us, and if you're coming back, you're joining us in Vlogmas, the December. And today is the 20, always have to look at the time, the 23rd episode that we are doing for the month. That's right. We've been live every night so far here on the channel in Vlogmas. So Vlogmas is a time when content creators come aside, they expand, they improve, they grow, they look at the content we look at the content that we're creating. Are we still doing the things that we say we want to do? Are we still living in the purpose? Are we still providing value? And so it's a time when we get to tweak, we get to adjust, we get to grow, as I said before. The benefit to us is that we get to do that. And the benefit to you, our audience, our clients, our customers, our viewers, is that you get to see us do it, and sometimes live and and close up, as you've seen here on the channel many, many times. So shout out to my colleagues who are out there, who are even now in the middle of their streams, who are creating content, those who are even now talking and teaching and tweaking and thinking about, okay, what do we do for the rest of the month? Okay, so my hat's off to you. Right over my head, you see the logo for Vlogmas, Vlogmas 2022. If you see that anywhere, go ahead and make sure that you support that content provider, that content creator, letting them know that you appreciate what they are doing. Yay! Okay. All right. So I see we have Janet. Hey, Janet, how are you doing? Welcome. Let's pop you up on the screen there. Thanks for stopping by. Happy Vlogmas, she says. Yay. Hopefully you had a great day, Janet, as we get ready to get into Christmas here in another day or so. It's been cold. It was cold up here. This morning, it was 4 degrees, y'all. That's in Huntsville, Alabama, 4 degrees. That does not make any sense. And then I looked at New York, and New York was where my family is, and it was like 40 something. I was like, why is it so much colder here than it is up there? It doesn't make any sense. Yeah. And hey, how you doing? There's David. David Hunt is coming through and saying hello. Hey, man, thanks for stopping by with us. Glad that you are here. We're going to have to talk to David about coming on and maybe talking about music. Hey, David, I have an idea for a show, by the way. I'm going to send that to you. I said, can you believe it? I know. And I went outside. So my car actually is outside of the garage, and that's my fault because I've got all kinds of stuff in the garage. That's another conversation. But I went out this morning and I couldn't even, so I did the clicker and I heard click, click, and I couldn't open the doors, right? Because they were frozen shut. I mean, that's how cold it was. Yeah, down there. That's right. Yeah, Janet, down here it was 4 degrees. So anyway, everybody, glad that you are here. Glad that you are stopping by to see us. And tonight I'm excited because we're talking about a subject that has such far-reaching implications. We're talking about a positive attitude. And I have, if I'm truthful, I have to say that I don't always have a positive attitude. I know. I know you guys don't believe that. But yeah, sometimes I don't have a positive. As a matter of fact, just about an hour and a half ago, I didn't have a positive attitude. right? I woke up and you know, in my head I had this thing going on, and I was like, man, so I had that negative attitude, and I had to work my way through that negativity. Okay, and so we're going to talk about it because it can so much affect what we do, how we interact, the success that we have. So important. And in fact, let me hop over here. David says, he says we're in Massachusetts, and it was 51, but now it's 19. Ooh, that was quick. From 51 down to 19. Man, that is incredible. Yeah. So it is crazy. And we had a little bit of flurries today. I don't know if you guys had some flurries up there, but we did. And they said that it was supposed to like actually snow, but it didn't snow. We had a little bit of a dusting, and so it was not as bad as they thought it was going to be. So yay, yay for us, right? All right. So tonight, like I said, we're talking about positive attitudes, and positive attitudes are so important. And we are actually going to be talking about how do we ignite, right? How do we ignite our attitude? How do we ignite our positive attitude with me? Yay. All right. So let's go ahead and let's get started. Let's hop over there and we'll start working through this together. So the first question is why are positive attitudes, why is it important to have a positive attitude, right? Because after all, if there's no benefit, then why do it? And you'll see there on the screen, why is it important? So for me, this first one is so important, right? Because when I see patients, when I'm in the hospital, when I see folks around me who are ill, the ones that seem to do much better are the ones that have positive attitudes. Now, I'm not talking about kind of a blissful ignorance kind of thing. I'm talking about people who, they understand the disease process. They understand the seriousness of what's going on. But their attitude seems to convey to them and for them a power beyond what we as physicians are able to do. Whoa, wait a minute. What did you just say? Right? So the positive attitude seems to give them an extra oomph, if you will. And those people tend to do better, the ones who have positive attitude. So positive attitude is important because it helps with your health, right? Greater happiness. So people who have positive attitude, because so the thought process, and you hear me say this over and over as we go through the talk tonight, right? It is so important to have the positive attitude because it's the attitude that dictates how the situation sometimes is framed in your mind. And as you frame that based on your attitude, you do different things, you behave in certain ways, and you get certain outcomes. Right? Because a lot of times we think that the situation just leads to an outcome. Well, no, the situation makes us behave in a certain way based on our attitude, based on our understanding, based on how we frame it. And the behavior that we take, the actions that we take lead to the results. So it's not just that the action or the thing causes the result. It's we're in there, and a lot of times it's our attitude that helps with that. So better work performance, right? Have you ever been on a job with somebody who has a bad attitude, a coworker, a team member of yours, if you were a supervisor, or if you're the team member, your supervisor who had a bad attitude, right? Or have you ever been in a family with people with bad attitudes? Right, that's not good, right? So better work performance, increased resilience. So if you have a good attitude, if you have a positive attitude, you're able to bounce back easier from things that happen, because life is going to happen. And I guess let me pause to say that in the middle of positive attitudes, life happens. So even when you have a positive attitude, there are things that are going to happen, and you're able to bounce back much better, much more, much easier if you have a positive attitude. And of course, better relationships, like I mentioned a little while ago, that it improves your interaction with other people. And so if you have a positive attitude, yeah. So a positive attitude can lead to improved health and greater happiness and all those things that we just talked about. So that's why it's important to have a positive attitude. Now, and that's not an exhaustive list, right? So there are so many other things that we can see that a positive attitude does, because a positive attitude is contagious, right? So let's not just forget that. So not only does it affect the person, not only does it affect me, but it actually affects the people around me. Right. So my attitude an hour and a half ago, had I not changed my attitude, would have affected the people in my house, right? My wife, my son. Would have affected you guys, right? Because I come on here. You don't want to see that, right? So that's why it's important to have a positive attitude. So how does a negative attitude block success, right? So that's the other side of the coin. So positive attitude does those things, and a negative attitude also has effects. And these are they. It leads to negative self-talk. So it's kind of like what comes first, right? The chicken or the egg. So do I have a negative attitude and then something happens and then it perpetuates, or does something happen and then I get a negative attitude? Whatever it is, we know that having a negative attitude leads to negative self-talk. So if I'm always down, right, things that come to me, they don't bounce off of me anymore, right? They really get to me and they really affect me. And so now I begin having that thing in my head, right? That negative self-talk, which leads to self-doubt. Because if I'm talking to myself negatively, oh, you can't do that. Oh, that never works out. Oh, that's just how it's going to be. Oh, here we go again, right? Those things that we say. Then that leads to doubt, because if that's the way my life always goes, then I doubt whether I'm going to be successful. And if I doubt that I'm going to be successful, then I don't have confidence in what I do. If I don't have confidence, you see how that works? So once again, our attitude dictates how we behave, and how we behave leads to the result. Yeah, I mean, it's a fascinating thing on how the brain, how this stuff works. It's amazing, right? Because we think that they're isolated, but they are actually not isolated. So a negative attitude causes us to focus on the negative aspects of a situation rather than the positive aspects. So if we already have a negative attitude, then we see the negativity in a situation. Now, all situations, and we'll talk about this in a minute, all situations have two sides, right? There's a positive and there's a negative. And so if our attitude is already negative, then we always gravitate and we always see the negative aspect of whatever is going on, right? I love this. I'm going to have to jump in and add this up to the screen. So David says, he said, Doc, I'm positive the chicken comes first. There you go. Thanks, David. All right. So negative attitude leads to feelings of discouragement and defeat. So once again, that cycle, right? That spiral that we get into, right? We get into that cycle, and one thing leads to another. And next thing we know, we've gone down the rabbit hole. And then negative attitude makes it difficult to see the positive. That's what they say for other things that are going on, right? So negative. So if you are negative, if you are seeing the negative, then your brain is not expanding. Your mind is not open to the possibility of different results or different ways of dealing with a particular situation. Right? Because we're in the negative. And so that's why it's important to have what just happened there? Sorry, guys. Let's get that guy out of there. Oh, there we go. Right. So that's why it is so important. It is so important to have a positive attitude, because it can affect so many of the things that we do. Does that make sense? So then the question that comes is, what do we do? What do we do about it? So let's hop back over. And Janet, look at that. You're on my screen. Do you see that? Woohoo! That just means I wanted you to come back, Janet. So let's get that all over there. All right. Look at that, created on the fly. What do we talk about? You get to see it live in person and up front. There we go. Awesome. Love it. All right. So let's get back. He said, I'm loving this, Doc. All right. So positive attitude, negative attitude. And so now what do we do? Okay. So here's it, right? Here's the crux. Here's what we're going to do. How do we ignite your positive attitude? Or how do I ignite my positive attitude, right? That's what we want to talk about. So the first thing is, and this one seems a bit simple, but you have to decide that you want to be more positive. You have to make the decision that you want to be more positive. Because if you don't make that decision, then it's kind of like you've made it, you want this thing to happen, but you're not putting things in place to make it happen. Right? You have to be intentional. You have to make it a priority, and you want to catch yourself in moments when you are being negative, and when and then you want to turn that energy into something that's more positive in your thoughts. That's a great way to get started. The other thing is that you have to embrace positivity, and that takes practice. It doesn't just happen because we've been conditioned so much by our life, by the things that go on. We've been conditioned to look at the negative. So we are going to have to make a change in how we see things. But we're not just trying to catch ourselves when we're having those negative thoughts and then switching them, but we're also trying to catch ourselves when we're having positive thoughts. And we want to make note of that, because that's a success. That's something to celebrate. That is something to say, okay, why in this situation was I able to have a positive thought? Yeah? Because if we are not intentional about it, a day goes by, 2 days goes by, 3, 4, 5, a month, a year, 2 years down the road, and like, wait a minute, I'm still negative. I'm still not where I want to be. So first, you've got to decide that you want to be positive. Hey, Dark Side 90 coming through. Thanks for coming by, man. Glad that you are here. We're talking about how to ignite your positive attitude, And we are talking, so once you got to decide that this is something that you want to do. Then you've got to reframe your thoughts. You got to reframe your thoughts. So let me give you the example that I was talking about earlier, right? So, I had a plan for what was the way the evening was going to go. And I fell asleep and I woke up and I was like, man, this is not going the way I wanted it to go. Right. And so I'm in my head, and because I had this structure, I had this thing that I wanted, I was very rigid in how that was going to happen. And so I had to kind of reframe. Right. I had to reframe what I was thinking and say, okay, it's not quite what I want, but okay, look at this other thing here. Look at what's going on. Right. So I had to change my thought. It's kind of like, I bet you've had this happen to you. Okay. So if you have a significant other, right? Even if you have a friend, mom, dad, son, whoever in your life, you just had a disagreement with that person. And you're not in the best of moods. Make sense? Okay. So you had disagreement, you're not in the best of moods, and you might not even be talking because you guys may have gone that way. Or you're taking a time out or whatever it is. Your phone rings. And you pick up the phone. You're like, hello, how are you? What just happened? Yeah, think about what just happened. you were able to change how you thought and how you behaved for that person on the phone. Why? Because the thing that happened between you and your whoever person is in your life, that argument that you have or that disagreement, right? It was not permanent, and it is not a end all be all. So when you have the argument with the person, you're able to switch. And what would happen if in the middle of the argument and you're mad or you're upset, you're whatever feelings you're having, and you're able at the moment to just switch and change and reframe the thought? That disagreement goes a little differently, right? Because now everything is great. Well, not great, but you get the idea. Right? Because we get to choose by the way. We get to choose how we respond. Challenges are going to come. They're an essential part of our growth. So why not embrace them and begin thinking, well, how can I use this? Let me think about this a different way. Right? I remember I was, I think it was my son or my wife had done something, or I thought they had done something. So I was mad. Right? And then I come out, because I hadn't talked to them yet. So I come out and I said, I think it was my son. And I said, hey, why didn't you, right? Why didn't you do such and such? And he's like, oh, and he explained what happened. And it was something totally different from what I thought. And immediately I switched, right? Because it wasn't permanent. But we think our attitudes, our ideas are permanent. They are not permanent. They are our interpretation of what's going on. So being able to reframe is an important skill to have. So reframe, okay? The next thing we want to do is we want to develop a spiritual practice. This is a big one. Develop a spiritual practice. What does that mean? So when you feel like you're alone on the journey, that is not fun. We are built for community. We're built for community. We're built for interaction. And if I think that the only thing that I have is what I have right now, if I think that all the power that I have is what I have right now, then every situation that comes and it's sapping some of that power makes me get depressed, and I get into the negativity. So a spiritual practice, and people define spiritual practice in lots of different ways. Okay. So some people talk about meditation. They talk about yoga. They talk about going to church. They talk about reading the Bible. They talk about reading a spiritual book, right? So your spiritual practice is the place where you draw strength. It's the place where you can be quiet and you can listen to what's going on around you. Because sometimes we're in the noise, we're not able to process things. And so having a spiritual practice, it enables us to be quiet. And it gives us a space to turn inward and become aware of the presence around us. Aware of something greater than ourselves. Right. And like I said, people do that in lots of different ways. They read, they write, they go to church, they read those spiritual books, and on and on and on. So lots of different ways to do that. But a place where you can be quiet, where you can listen, where you can turn inward, where you can expand to hear and the presence around you, so that you can then begin, once again, working on that mind, because the mind is so important in all of this, because as we think, we are, right? So develop spiritual practice. And then create a mantra. Create a mantra. What does that mean? Create a mantra. So as you go through life, as I go through life, we're constantly being bombarded with negativity all around us. And sometimes, even though we may have a strong sense of self, that negativity can begin to chip away little by little at who we are. And so reminding ourselves on a consistent basis of something, and we'll talk about here in a minute, what are some of those things we can say, right? About who we are, the value that we have, the strengths that we have, the gifts that we have, right? Like, I am enough. For some of us, our negativity comes from feeling like we're not sufficient. But saying, I am enough. I'm enough for this task. I'm enough for this relationship. I'm enough for this project. I'm enough for me. Or I'm at peace. I'm at peace. In the middle of all that's going on around me, I'm at peace. Write it down. Put it on the wall. Put it in front of you. Now, one of the things I use, and it's not a mantra, but I've got a little certificate that I have right here. And every time I walk into the office, it's a reminder, right? Because it's right. I mean, the door is over here. So every time I come in, I see it. It's a reminder of why I do what I'm doing right now, why I go live. All right. And so every time I come in, I get to see that. But if we're not having these mantras in our mind, we're constantly being beaten down. And if we're not careful, we get into that negative cycle again. Right? So having that mantra. Love it. Love it. Okay? All right. We got some other folks hopping in. Let's see. We got, David said he's got to run. Hey, man, Merry Christmas. Thanks for stopping by. West Side. Mr. James Riley. Hey, man. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks by. David St. Riley. And hey, David. Yeah, man. So, man, I don't know what the temperature is out there, but it's been cold on this side. So maybe we all need to move out to Cali. Yeah, man. Thanks for stopping through. So we're talking about how to ignite our positive thoughts. Okay. And so create a mantra. Remember that I am sufficient. I am enough. I am at peace. Whatever it is, let the words become your daily reminder of the power and the value that you have. Once you've identified it, then, like I said, put it around, right? James said it's 76 degrees. That's not fair, man. That's not fair. We were 4 today. All right. So create the mantra. Look at the big picture. Look at the big picture. So for me, in my situation earlier, right, the big picture, the what I wanted to happen was a small part of of the whole situation. So it didn't matter that it wasn't going the way I anticipated it should go. But the fact is it was going, right? So look at the big picture. Sometimes we get caught up in the minutia. We get caught up in the small details. And that, a lot of times, is really all about us, right? It's all about control. It's about our insecurities. It's about... and sometimes it is a preference. It is not that was wrong and this is right. It's a preference. And I give the example a lot, in my room, my studio here. If my wife comes in and she says, "Hey, I don't like this." You see Yoda right there, guys. I don't like Yoda back there in your scene. Right? Yeah, I can get bent out of shape. was like, wait a minute, this is my show, it's my scene. That's my background. I can do whatever I want here. But ultimately, does it matter? I mean, does it matter in the scheme of things, right? So that's a situation where it's like, okay, I want to be in control, right? It's a preference. And we both have to understand it's a preference. It's like, yeah, it's your show. So if you preferred it, fine, right? Or is it worth the anxiety that it would cause? Let's assume that she really, really wanted Yoda gone. Is it worth the anxiety it would cause for me to fight that? No. Now, if she starts taking all my stuff back, then, we might have to have a conversation. Hope she's not watching. She is. Hi. Right? But you guys get the idea. Right? Don't major in minutia. Don't major in minutia. Hey, Tatiana, how are you doing? Welcome. She says, hello, hello. Thanks for stopping by. Glad that you are here. We're talking about positive thoughts. Positive thoughts. And so look at the big picture, right? Is it as important? Is it really important? Okay. And then think about other people. Think about other people. Sometimes we get so caught up in ourselves that we miss opportunities for us to offer our services, our energy, our thoughts, our comfort to people around us. And because we do that, we once again go down that rabbit hole because it's all about us. But sometimes simply reaching out and helping, providing, giving some benefit to someone else, it takes our minds off of our situation. Now, the situation is still there. It hasn't gone. But just the act of leaving it for a little bit so that we can give energy somewhere else can rejuvenate us, can help us now develop a positive attitude. Now, as I'm saying all of these, and I'm going to come back and make this point here at the end, this doesn't happen overnight. And in the situation, when you're in the situation, like if I'm having a heated conversation, in that moment, I may not be able to process all of these. But it is a lifestyle that I'm adopting. And so if I'm putting myself in the position of being intentional, of wanting to be positive, of creating that mantra, of developing a spiritual practice, of thinking about other people, if I'm in the process, if I'm in the mindset of doing that, when I do get into a difficult situation, then I am more readily able to do so, to think positively. Right? But if you just watch this show right now, he's like, okay, you write these down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you never look at them again. And then you run into a situation, you're like, man, Dr. Woode, he said those 7 things are going to work. Yeah, but you didn't practice them, man. Come on. You got to use them. You got to use them. You got to use them. Okay. All right, let's see. So James, he said, my wife would probably respect my space and wouldn't want me to move stuff around just because of her. She's cool like that. Love that, right? And then he says, hey, Tatiana. Awesome. Love it. All right. So think about other people. And then, man, we got to take care of ourselves. We got to take care of our bodies. This is the only one we got. And the healthier we are, and I want to make a point here, sometimes when we think body, we simply think about the physical. But remember, the mind is part of the body as well. It's there. So taking care of all of that, getting good rest, eating well, managing our stresses, connecting, drinking water, right? We always leave that one out. Drinking enough water, all of that stuff. Right? So taking care of this body that we have, because the healthier the body is, the more easily we can deal with creating a positive space. But if we don't, right? If we're all broken down, all our energy is going to just get through the day. We don't have enough. We don't have any more energy for anybody else. We don't want to be positive. Just let me get through the day. Have you ever seen somebody who's just like, life has just gotten them and their sole purpose is, okay, I just got to make through this day. Now, we sometimes find ourselves in that position, right? Because of illness, because of, so many different things that are going on, right? So I don't want to negate anything that's going on in your life that is pulling you, that is taking your strength, right? And we always talk about trauma and our families of origin and things that go on in our lives and sickness and mental health and so, right? So all those things, yes, they're there. But aside from those, right, we don't just want to let me just get through this day. So taking care of this body. And then, of course, exercise, right? Exercise is a big one that we talk about. All right. And then find your tribe. Woohoo. Now, this one has been exciting for me, y'all. This one has been exciting for me because, and I mentioned on one of my shows, well, no, not on one of the shows. I think I was maybe on your show. I was there. And I was talking about a group of guys that I called up once, about 12 years ago, and said, hey, I'm going through some stuff and I need some support. And we started meeting every Wednesday. Right. So finding those people around you, finding your tribe is important. And your tribe can be you can have lots of different forms of the tribe, right? So those were guys that I had grown up with, that I knew. So we started meeting. Here in the social space, I've got a new tribe, right? So I've got Tatiana, I've got Janet, I've got James, right? I've got Cheryl, I've got Keely, and sorry, I'm not going to name everybody, right? So if I didn't call your name, that doesn't mean you're not part of my tribe. But you guys get the idea, right? So people that you can bounce ideas off of, people that support you, people that help you think positively. Very, very important. Because if you have that, then all of your energies don't get depleted, because you've got these people that are kind of pouring into you, that are helping you, that are supporting you. Got to do it. Find that tribe. And then practice. How many times did I say that? Practice. Right, let me say it one more time. Practice. Right, you got to practice. You've got to look at the mantra and you've got to say the mantra, even when you're not in a situation that is negative. Right? Because if you only are looking to these things when the negative thought comes, sometimes it's going to be hard. Because remember, we are sometimes, I shouldn't say that, we are emotional beings. And sometimes in the moment, the emotions that we are feeling are so strong that if we don't have that muscle memory of having gone through these over and over and over and over and over and over again, then the emotions take over. And then we get to the end of whatever that situation is, like, man, I wish I had handled that a little better. I wish I had thought about it more positively. Well, you didn't think about it positively because you were trying to use these tools in the moment. So in your daily routine, say the mantra. I am important. I am sufficient. I am at peace. In your daily routine, have that spiritual practice. In your daily routine, make sure that you're taking care of your body. In the daily routine, make sure that you're thinking. Make sure you have a planned time where you go help people. So it's not, I'm thinking negatively, let me go find somebody to help. Doesn't quite work like that, right? But yeah, we got to practice. Practice makes perfect. Or practice makes better. I shouldn't say perfect, because there's always room for improvement. But we got to get through all of those things, and we do them. And this once again is not an exhaustive list, but these are probably the key components of how to ignite your positive attitude. Decide that you want to do it. Decide that you want to be more positive. Reframe your thoughts. When thoughts are coming at you, look at it and say, okay, do I need to think about this differently? All right. One thing that I heard, and I talk about Steve Harvey often, he said, rather than think that I have to go to work, think that I get the opportunity to go to work. I have the pleasure of going to work. Now, it seems like a silly little twist of words, but it can be profound. It can be so empowering, reframing what we think, and develop that spiritual practice. Create the mantra, whatever it is for you, right? One of my mantras is, I am a creator. I am a creator. Content creator. I'm a content creator. Right? Look at the big picture. Look at the big picture. It doesn't always matter. It doesn't always matter. And there are preferences. Don't get caught up in preferences. It's not right or wrong. It's just the way I like it. That's the way I like it. That's the way I like those. That's the way, whatever. Take care of your body. Find your tribe. What's up, tribe? You guys are all now part of my tribe, okay? You've been dubbed. You've been dubbed part of my tribe. All right, Tatiana says, it's true, holistic self-care matters. Yes, so important. And then connection. That's right. You talked about it on my show. That's right. See, it's all starting to run together, Tatiana. And then James Riley says, making a connection is very important. Tatiana says that don't say I have to, say I get. Yes, Tatiana. Very good. I like that. That's what point I was making. And Jerry said, yes, you are a super dope creator. I'm gonna change it. I'm gonna change my thing, my mantra, James. To instead of saying I am a content creator, I'm gonna say I'm a super dope content creator. I'm gonna take that one. Awesome. And yes, I'm in the tribe. Yes, that's, yeah, I'm gonna give it. Ooh. That's for all my tribe members. But man, guys, this positive attitude thing is, I am gonna say to you that for a large part of my life, my attitude was not positive, or it was like borderline. Okay. I remember when I was in not medical school, when I was in residency, and residency was one of the hardest times in my life. And I would come in the morning, and I would sit in the car, and I'd like blast gospel music. I think people thought I was crazy, but I'd come early and I'd just sit there. Right, because I had to get my mind. Going. We worked at one of the busiest hospitals, and we rotated between the adult hospital and the pediatric hospital. And like this season right here, right, this is RSV season, and those kids were coming in like, poof, I mean, they were like flooding the ER. And so it was a long night. We're admitting kids, we're putting people on oxygen, and right, and then over at the adult hospital, people coming in with chest pain, and it was tough. It was tough. And so being able to sit and kind of get myself together and go into the hospital and be there and be present. So that's the other thing, right? Being present in that moment. Because you have to be present. And so coming through a lot of that, I had to learn how to be positive. Because those 36 hours or whatever number of hours where you go in the morning today and you don't get back, you don't think about leaving for another 36 hours later, right? And you've been up watching, seeing people, and going through the hospital and so forth. All of that was hard, y'all. And so the positivity and what I think helped was having people around. Right. And now I talk, to some of the residents, and we talk. And here's the funny thing, right? And maybe it's not funny. Here's the thing, that there are people that are feeling the same way, but because we all want to appear, what's the word? We want to be self-sufficient, right? So none of us are talking to each other. And so sometimes now we get on the phone and we talk, or I run into somebody and say, hey, you remember that? And so if I haven't seen them in a while, or we're in the same space, and so we begin talking and realize that at that time those ones that are talking, felt the same way. It would have been a great opportunity for us to connect and for us to support each other. So as you're in your space, another point for me to make here, you're not alone. Pause for effect. You're not alone. But sometimes we think whatever we're going through, we're in it. We're the only ones. And it's just a matter of finding the people that are out there that are feeling the same way. That's why the tribe is so important. Because as you talk, you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I feel like that. Sometimes I think about that. And so we can begin helping each other. Does that make sense? Yoo-hoo! Yay! Okay. So that wasn't part of the discussion, but there it is. That's what I love about being here. It goes as it goes. So I think that's it. We got positive attitude. Important for 2023. Important for now. But for 2023, 2024, 25, and so forth, wow, so important. It can have a huge, huge impact on the way that we enjoy life and all the daily experiences that we have, right? Because there is so much richness, and I'm starting to use that word, richness, in the stuff that we see on the daily basis. But because of the attitude, sometimes, we're not able to grasp that. We're not able to take that in. But because of the positive attitude, I mean, the world opens up to us. Amazing. All right. James said, you have to give your tribe a name. I have to give my tribe a name. Yes. All right. You guys come up with a name for my tribe for me. Okay. There you go. But yeah, guys, I am so glad that you're here. I'm glad that you guys took a time to stop by and to hang out with us. Vlogmas. I'm in the middle of Vlogmas. We're coming down to the end, right? 23. This is the 23rd episode. We got several more episodes, for the month. Tomorrow night, we have Dr. Brittany Scott, who is a young lady who started a consulting service. She's a physician, and she'll tell her story tomorrow. And it's an incredible story. It's a little different path that she took to where she is right now. And that's what we've been highlighting this month. People who are doing things in their space, right? Whatever they're doing in their space. Because people don't always end up where they planned, but along the way, there is something to be learned. Something to be learned. And that is so important. Well, let's do this right now. Let's hop over to our amazing question wheel, and we'll see what question we are going to answer tonight. So let's get that going. All right, this is our amazing question wheel, and you see our questions on the screen. If you've not been here for our question wheel, this is how it works. I'm going to spin the wheel, and whatever question it lands on, I am going to answer. The rules for the answer, it has to be concise. It has to be practical, so that means you can use it. It can't be nonsensical, and I have to give the answer in 45 seconds. Now, not that I have to start it in 45 seconds, but I have to finish in 45 seconds, okay? And then what we're going to do is we're going to clip that out. We're going to make a reel or short or whatever platform it is. And I want you to go out there and I want you to find it on those platforms, and I want you to put in the comments hashtag I was there. And if you look right here under my name, that's where you'll find me, Dwain Woode MD, on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, any of those platforms. And then if you want to send me a message, you can also do that at dwainwoodemd.com. That's DWOODE at dwainwoodemd.com. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's spin the wheel and let's see what question we are going to answer tonight. All right, round and round and round it goes. Where it stops, I'm not gonna know. See, I added a little thing in there. Okay. Kenneth, you know what, guys? I'm gonna take that one off because I think we answered that one already. Okay, here we go. Let's spin it again. All right. Okay, why does cinnamon work for diabetes? That's a good question. So why does cinnamon work for diabetes? Let me think about that for a second. Why does cinnamon work for diabetes? Let's get 45 seconds on the clock and on the screen. And let me remember the question. Why does cinnamon work for diabetes? Okay. Why does cinnamon work for diabetes? Well, cinnamon is a sensitizer. It's an insulin sensitizer. So basically what cinnamon does, it makes the insulin that your body makes or the insulin that we give as a medication makes it work better. What does that mean? It makes like 1 unit of insulin look like 10. And I'm using numbers here for example. Those aren't exact. So it makes the insulin look much stronger for patients who have high blood sugars and diabetes. I got that. 45 seconds. Yay. All right. All right. So that is our amazing question wheel. So you can look for that video. It should come out sometime after 1 o'clock tomorrow morning. I don't know. What am I doing up at 1 o'clock, by the way? I don't know. Yeah. All right. So no matter what life throws at our way, we can choose the approach. We can choose the approach that we use. We can choose to approach each situation with a positive outlook. When we do this, we open ourselves for the possibilities and the opportunities that we may have otherwise missed. We also set ourselves up for success instead of failure. So the next time you find yourself feeling down or defeated or feeling that you're going through that negative cycle, remember that you have the power to change your attitude and turn things around. Once again, I'm glad that you are here. Come back for our next video, our next episode tomorrow night. If you've not already done so, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so that you'll be alerted when we put up new content and new videos. If you don't have an account, you can create a free account on YouTube and then log in. Go ahead and subscribe and hit the notification bell. We've done lots of content for the last several months. Want to make sure that you go back and that you look at those because they are up on the channel, and it's amazing stuff that we've done there so far. And then on our website, if you go to our website, Dwain Woode MD, let me see, let me make sure I got the right screen. Maybe this one. Yeah, Dwain Woode MD. You'll see our free resource that we've made available for you, and you've hit the button, free 7 keys to success, the ebook, and it'll take you to this page right here, right? See, look at that handsome fellow right there. Learn how successful people create the life they want, right? So it's a free resource that we've made available for you. This is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health, take charge of your life, create the life you've always wanted, and go to the next level. We'll see you tomorrow at the next video, the next episode. Everybody, guys, thank you for coming through. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow night.